Jerry?
Well, you win the Donn B. Murphy one-act play contest, and they assign you a student director. You meet with him, and he astounds you with he's the son of a famous British multimillionaire. And you get the sense that he hasn't read your script very carefully. If he did, he read it in between lines of cocaine while seducing the high school girls. And then you get a phone call right before rehearsals are going to start for your play, and you're already worried about it, that this guy's been academically suspended. And we don't have a director. And then later you get a call, the savior has arrived. Donn B. Murphy, who hasn't directed students for some time, is coming out to direct. Now, I was a grad student in the government department. I didn't know there was really a Donn B. Murphy. It's like, you won the Pulitzer, and Pulitzer is going to tell you how to do journalism. So, there's not a lot of time. I drive over to Donn's house, not the current palace, but the smaller version in Northern Arlington. And I was a little filled with trepidation. I'm meeting the playwright namesake, and what was even scarier was what Donn had done in just the couple days that he'd had the script. He had torn my script apart. Not in terms of saying, this sucks, that's bad, change this, nothing like that. He had analyzed every scene. He had thought of things that I had never thought of about the meaning of my character's name, Cable. You know, he said, I see him as a cable stretched taut my attention. I thought, that's great. I see it, that's great. And then, so for the next couple months, watching him in work with actors, what Donn taught me, sort of like what he taught Rachel, was that this is hard work. This is endless hours of struggle, but it wasn't painful. To watch Donn direct is to watch him get everything he possibly can out of everyone in the way that is best for that person. And whether it's the sound designer or the really, really egotistical playwright, whatever Donn needs, he gets it out of people. And he does it in a way that produces brilliance. I'm still stealing from little things the way Donn directed that little play. I do have a complaint about Donn, and that is that he's too good a director. He fooled me into thinking my script was better than it was, which was endlessly disappointing because I ended up having to direct it one time and it wasn't as good when I directed it. Then I also had this experience with my play about Ernest Hemingway. I had this 3-person play that was going to give a stage reading as part of a summer theater festival here, and most of the actors that I knew were 20 and 30, and the lead character was late in life Papa Hemingway. So I call up Donn. And I've probably done something that no one in this room has done. I told Donn what to do. I got to direct him. But once again, it was this humbling experience, because when I met him for the first time to have him read through the script, every single page had notations, had suggested line readings. And it's also a demonstration of something that maybe other people have learned from Donn, is that I still to this day think Donn's a better writer than I am. And I think he could have fixed things in all of my scripts just by saying, do it this way, and he never did it. Even when he was forced to say bad lines as Ernest Hemingway, he found ways to make them work, rather than simply fixing them aggressively the way I think some less, or some more self-centered artists would have done. And so I'll always be grateful, but also a little resentful, that my first director was Donn, because he was so good that he made me think I was a better writer than I am. And he spoiled me for future directors, because I keep waiting for them to be as good as Donn, and I'm not sure they ever will be. So thanks, Don.
When this play, Brother in Boston, that Donn was directing and Jerry had written, was nominated for the regional awards of the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. Donn and Jerry and students and Mask and Bauble and I all boarded a bus and headed for Buffalo, New York, where I had the privilege of sitting next to Donn and learning so much about life, including that Donn said at that time, I know we're going to get there, and all of the theater professors are going to be in all black, and I am not.
Can you talk about your methodologies? Any secrets? How do you write? Do you start with your beginning? Do you start with your ending? Do you start with a note, a word? How do you write?
Why don't we start with Gus?
Oh, we're going in order. Yeah, all right. When something occurs to me that is outside the accepted opinion, you know, you're going through your life and everybody agrees on one thing, and you don't agree. That's when I know I have something to write about. When I've noticed something either about my family or work or school or whatever that is outside the accepted opinion but seems like it's the absolute truth.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I start with an assignment, generally. I started out as a newspaper reporter, and generally you show up at work and they tell you what to write. The thing that I discovered when I became a freelance writer, and then someone who does nothing but write for a living, is that the most difficult part of the assignment is finding what you're going to do that day, and if you're going to support yourself doing it, you better do it every day. For me, it's pretty much a 9-to-5 job, and I'm writing about something one way or another, and whether I sold it beforehand or not.
Great. Thank you.
Rachel?
Couple of things that I learned from Doc Murphy I use every day in my writing. Things that he taught me are, first of all, the writer's job is to astonish the audience, and my audience are teenagers and kids reading a book. So there has to be something astonishing there. But he also said, if you're having trouble with the scene, it's either because you are avoiding the hard scene. There's something you're going around, so press the bruise. Or you don't know your characters well enough. So I feel like, as I learned as an actor, as a director, as a playwright, before you have the right to enter the stage as a character, you need to know everything about that character. So where is that character coming from? And my first answer, brilliantly, was stage left. But no, that character was someplace before walking into this living room. Where? Is the character cold or hot? Did she make her bed this morning when she got up and before she left the room, or no? Or is she thirsty? What do you want? What does the character want from the other character in the scene? And I learned these are the questions, and when I talk to kids about writing, these are the questions that I learned and that I ask my characters over and over and over again. What do I want? Who is stopping me from getting it? Why do I want it? Why is the other character stopping me from getting it? What am I willing to risk to get it? And these are playwrights questions, but I use them in my books. And then on top of that, I have developed what I call a form to form a character, and this grew out also out of playwriting, where it's like a projective testing that a psychologist will do. My mom's a school psychologist, so I got it partly from her, that I need to answer these questions in the voice of each character, and even minor characters in my book. The thing nobody knows about me is, I wish I had never, and then and for a main character, I might do 20 different versions of this as I'm writing a book. But the other thing is, it's all about the rewriting for me. When I send in, as I did 1 week ago, my new book, I mark it, and it always makes me laugh. I say first draft, but it's really draft. I'm much more efficient now. I've been at this a long time, so it might be only the 20th or the 26th draft of this. It used to be the 100th, but I find the characters in the revision. That's how I write.
Great, thank you.
Great. So I actually have an actual, what do you call it? It's a routine or like a tradition of literally when I moved up to New York, I moved into this Washington Heights apartment that was very gritty, and then it's basically one of those things where you walk in and you can see people for some reason they always have the random people that are coming out buying Dimebacks weeds and on the stairwell, and it's kind of really sketch. But I loved it because to me, I was from the country, so I loved the grittiness of the New York Bill. And so I found a place, I feel like everyone should have this, that they have a place where it's so surreal, any place, anywhere, like maybe it's in your room or anywhere, and for me it's in the stairwell, where it's so surreal that it just takes you to a place that you, in your mind, that you really can't be anywhere else. And so I'll oftentimes go to that stairwell and sit right above these dope boys or whatever, who are just talking back and forth, and they're playing loud music. I'll have a cigarette, and I'll look out, and I can see the George Washington Bridge going over to New Jersey, and it's beautiful. And the first thing that always happens is that I'll see a scene in my head, and this is how I wrote Father's Day, was I saw a scene where there was a father that comes in, the boy is just sitting alone, and the father comes in, and instantly there's tension. And they don't want to talk to each other, so they're saying things that have nothing to do with what they need to talk about. So the father says, listen, eat your Cheerios, no, stop eating Cheerios, so we have leftovers in the fridge. You're eating too much damn sugar. And the boy is completely silent because he's terrified of his father. And you want to know why. Why they're terrified, why is the tension there? What has the father done? And that's how it starts to unravel. Then I went to another scene with the father being in a cemetery, getting ready to kill his brother. And then why is that? And what are these questions? And why is that so important? And where do these things come from? And so when you start asking these questions, it all comes from this one random thought from your imagination. That's when you come with beautiful scenes, that's when you come with a beautiful story. Explaining things, and also taking that journey to where these characters are at right now. I mean, that's the beauty of the story. So, I don't know if I had that.
You certainly did.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think that one of the marvelous things about plays is that you can think of them visually too. And in a lot of the plays that I write, the initial germ is an image, whether that is two flowers sitting in rocking chairs, or a man made out of a bicycle, or just a monkey holding a moon, or orphans traveling across America on a train. I think that for me, a lot of the pieces of which I'm most proud begin a few months in my mind as these sort of flashes that keep coming back. And I often think of writing as a setting down. I come from a dance background, and I often think of what I write as a sort of choreography of words, and the process of setting a piece is a vocabulary that's remained with me as a writer. So I often think of setting those things in the page as I'm writing it. And I think the most important thing for me when I have to sit down and write something is to have open space and socks. And as long as I have those, I think I'm good.
Socks.